you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And it's of course, interesting to have the final session of the day, one that's hopefully going to set you take you to magical, mysterious places with tourism, hopefully dreaming but not sleeping yet. So please welcome to the stage Fanuel Abu, CEO and co-founder of Thallium Consulting, Abid Butt, Group CEO of Assets Group Qatar, Marian Otamendi, co-founder and CEO of the World Football Summit, Jean-Guillaume Lacoste, CEO of Middle East and Africa, GL Events France, Cleo Andriopoulos, the Associate Director of Strategy and Innovation for Miral, UAE, Lama Al-Fawzan, Vice President of the Saudi Olympic and Paralympic Committees, and Frederic Garcia, the General Director of the Winfield Racing School in France. We need another chair too. Yeah, I'll stay here for the moment. Well, just as a preamble, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to look at the current scenario in the GCC. Over the past decade, the Middle East has emerged as one of the fastest growing hubs for global sports and tourism. Governments across the region have recognized the power of sport, not just as entertainment, but as a catalyst for economic diversification, urban development, and international reputation. Sport is deeply interlinked with tourism, infrastructure, and national branding. And just before this, and I was talking about that with the guys, I said, you know, what's the link between sports and tourism and even this event? And the thing is, they all bring people together, and they destroy preconceived ideas. And this is what's important about what we're talking about today. World-class sporting events have proven to be very powerful tools for generating international visibility. We've seen that, we were just talking about that, increasing visitor arrivals, leaving lasting legacies. Now, these events do a lot more than fill stadiums. They drive hotel capacity, retail sales, cultural engagement, and global media attention. In Qatar, the 2022 FIFA World Cup set a new benchmark for sport tourism, drawing over 1.4 million international visitors and generating billions in associated tourism revenue. But the story doesn't stop there. Qatar's Aspire Zone, the ongoing development of Lusail, and the integration of sporting infrastructure into urban planning all point to a long-term strategy to position the country as a sports and tourism powerhouse. In the UAE, Yas Island and Dubai Sports City are examples of how leisure, sport, and tourism come together to build a year-round destination appeal. Formula One in Abu Dhabi is not just a race, it's a global event weekend with concerts, hospitality, elite tourism experiences that attract high-net-worth visitors. We were talking about Saudi Arabia just now, and thank you very much again to Shaima Saleh AlHusseini for her words. And Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 has placed sport and tourism at the very center of economic diversification. In just a few years, the kingdom has emerged as a global player in hosting marquee events, boxing world title fights, WWE spectacles, the Dakar Rally, and Live Golf Series. Football is at the core of all this strategy. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. With the arrival of international big-name superstars, the Saudi Pro League has radically shifted the region's football landscape. The result? More fans, global media, and commercial partnerships. On the tourism front, sports have proven to be a powerful magnet. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah has rapidly become one of the most high-profile F1 events on the calendar. Alongside the race, music festivals, cultural exhibitions, and curated tourism experiences showcase the country's evolving image. With thousands of international visitors attending, the economic ripple effect spans hospitality, transport, retail, and also the local SMEs, very important. At the same time, Saudi Arabia is investing in sports-led tourism across a wider range of disciplines and locations. This morning, we met the people from AlUla, one of the kingdom's flagship heritage and tourism destinations. They're basing much of their visitor strategy on hosting a dynamic calendar of sporting events, from equestrian competitions, endurance races, to cycling and running festivals. Across the Gulf, sport is now a solid engine for sustainable tourism, economic growth, and international influence. Today's panel will explore the operational realities behind that vision, from strategy and infrastructure to partnerships and community impact. Well, now time for our panelists to have a word with us. Fanuel, and I'll sit down in just a moment. Just tell us firstly, Fanuel, a little bit more about the role of Thallium Consulting and Le Club France in supporting multi-sports development across the Gulf countries, including the implementation of the Paris Saint-Germain Academy. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for Business France. It's been a year ago I was sitting here announcing that we were opening Saudi Arabia market, Bahrain, and also Jordan. Yeah, so Thallium Consulting, we're a consulting firm. We do provide business and strategy for development of companies in the Middle East since 2009, so 17 years in this country. I mean, based in UAE, but of course, going across all the GCC countries. Le Club France is the main operator of Paris Saint-Germain Academy development in the region. And so since September 2024, we are expanding in Saudi Arabia, of course, from the Western region, Jeddah, King Abdulaziz Economic City in the north of Jeddah, Riyadh, and of course the Eastern region with Khobar and Dammam, but also Manama in Bahrain, and of course we're operating in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and other countries of the GCC. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to be there. Mainly, of course, as you know, Paris Saint-Germain Academy, it's talking about football. So football from children aging from the age of 5 years old up to 17 years old. The idea, of course, to bring, of course, our expertise in the GCC countries, the French expertise in terms of football with a strong brand of the PSG. We bring, of course, top technical director, head coach, who are all, of course, coming from France and training in France. But also we give the chance to the coaches in Saudi, like Saudi coaches, Emirati coaches, to train them, to teach them how to train the new generation. And yeah, and having, of course, a lot of, we were talking about women, so our players, boys are boys and girls, of course. And yeah, we're doing quite well.
So it's all about inspiring people. In fact, it's this getting down to that the ground roots, the where it's going to inspire people to really get into it later in life.
Exactly. With a lot of challenge with sport facilities also and events that we are. So, for example, a few weeks ago, I mean, yeah, it was in May, we bring more than 300 people from all the GCC countries in Paris. So families with the kids, under 15 for the girls, only girls team from all those countries, under 13 and under 11 for the boys. So we bring them to Paris. They have 3 days doing an amazing tournament in the campus in Paris, in Poissy, in the new professional center of Paris Saint-Germain, and plus playing a final in the Parc des Princes. So which was an amazing experience for the parents and of course for the children.
Now, Marion, we're talking about football. Marion, your organization is really shaping the future of football around the world, but also in the Middle East, particularly now. Tell us more about what WFS is doing and perhaps WFS Riyadh 2025.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much. I also want to thank Business France for the invitation. And in regards to World Football Summit, I should say that we are the #1 event gathering the football industry around the globe. We were born in year 2016. Ever since, we have done 28 events in 4 continents, including 2 editions in Saudi, which I will refer to later on. Our objective is to grow the industry, to make it more professionalized, and that's why we want our attendees to share knowledge, share potential ideas for new business, do lots of networking. And I will end up by saying that we also advocate for more female leaders getting into the industry, because unfortunately the football industry around the globe is well underrepresented. And also we advocate for the inclusion of disability, because football and sports have to be for everyone, and this includes disabled people as well.
Jean-Guillaume, you're all about events in the Middle East, including sports summits and tournaments. Tell me a little bit more about your organization and what you're doing there.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Just a few words about GL Events and our presence in the Middle East. We are definitely a French company, but now we are worldwide, located in more than 25 countries in the world, working on 3 different businesses as an integrator of solutions for events. We are service provider for any kind of events. We are well known for sport, as we deliver most of the temporary services for the Olympics in Paris or for the World Cup for the last 20 years. But we do work for any kind of event, from exhibition, conference events, sport or political events. The second business line that we have is we manage venues all over the world. Now we are managing 70 venues, and for those who have seen the press recently, the last one is the Stade de France that we will be able to manage starting this summer. So we do operate venues for government, bringing and doing the promotion of a destination, which is going to be a key point when it goes to event and tourism. And the last one, we are also owners of IPs. We do own more than 300 exhibitions in the world, in different kind of business line, but specifically in food industry, in textile and fashion, and in the global industry sector.
Okay, now, Cleo, you have an exciting role in Abu Dhabi and an amazing portfolio to promote as well. Please tell us more. And also, it's interesting that a Franco-Greek woman from Aix-en-Provence in France is in this pivotal role in the Emirates. Tell me about what you're doing.
Thank you. Pleasure being here, first of all, and thanks again to Business France for the invitation. So Miral is an Abu Dhabi-based group, and we're basically crafting immersive experiences and destinations. So we're really focused on entertainment and tourism, and really supporting the Abu Dhabi city to develop its attractiveness from a tourism perspective. So from that regard, as you mentioned, we've got a broad portfolio. So we've got theme parks, so a bit far away from the sports industry, but we have 4 theme parks in partnerships with global IPs. So some of you might have been to Ferrari World or to Yas Water World. We've got Sea World as well, Abu Dhabi, and Warner Bros. And the tiny little last announcement that we made was actually a collaboration with Disney, as we will be bringing Disney to Abu Dhabi. So this is the amusement side of our portfolio. We've also have sports as well with Climb, which is a large indoor skydiving facility, including climbing facilities as well. But we also have culture, heritage on Sariyat Island with the launch of Team Lab Phenomena, again in collaboration with the Japanese IP this time. And finally also events. And events, I believe we're going to touch upon that point, but this is really the live events, how to bring the crowds within Etihad Arena, which is our facility, not only to have concerts or comedies and festivals, but also major sports events.
Amazing. Abid, based in Qatar and with quite an extraordinary portfolio of everything you're doing, I couldn't possibly introduce all that you're doing, because when I first looked at your LinkedIn, it was like, wow, look at this, what this guy's doing. And then when you talked to me about what it was like, okay, it's better if you explain this. So tell us about what you're doing, and also perhaps how destinations should be selling themselves, because I know that's something that's dear to your heart.
Well, thanks for the invite, and thanks to the audience for sticking with us. I know it's late, so thanks for being here. Hopefully we'll keep you entertained enough to keep you awake. But Assets Group is a global owner and developer of a diversified portfolio of real estate assets. Our growth at this point mostly is in hospitality sector, a sector that is near and dear to my heart. I've spent a lot of time and have been very fortunate to have lived and worked all over the world, positioning some destinations, and making sure that the industry can focus on sustainable and regenerative tourism. We can go through lots and lots of case studies as to how it helps. But the question that was asked about positioning the destinations, I think it is critical to make sure that the destinations talk about their own unique assets, their own unique attributes, as opposed to trying to outdo their neighbor. Because they're only, if everybody positioned themselves as the best beach and best place to go for sun, there are 1,000 beaches around the world. Nobody's going to travel long distance, as opposed to either a cultural event or a tourism event, or marketing something that cannot be replicated anywhere else in the world. I think that's critical when destinations start talking about how they're going to market.
That's extremely important. Now, Lama, sport is really blossoming in Saudi Arabia. At the same time, it's evolving very rapidly when it comes to inclusivity. We were just hearing about that. We're thrilled to have you with us. Please tell us a little bit more about your role in the Olympic committees and the challenges you have, and also the importance of sport in KSA moving forward.
Sports is really my passion, and I started playing sports more than 11 years ago now. I'm one of the oldest athletes in Saudi. So when I first started, there were only 200 female athletes. Today we have more than 7,000 female athletes. Today we have a national sports strategy. So things have really changed massively. When I look at how we started before the Vision 2030, where there were only 32 federations, today we have more than 100 federations in Saudi. It's mandatory now to have females in each and every board in all of the federations. We have a national team in more than 40 federations too. As per the national sports strategy, we have three main pillars, and one of the pillars is about mass participation, and Shaima talked about it beautifully, and what they are doing is absolutely amazing in terms of encouraging people to adapt to different sports. And then you also have how are we going to develop elite athletes? And I think it's important to benchmark Saudi to other countries, and this is what my master's was about, is that we looked to France, we looked at INSEPT, we looked at the English Sports Institute in the UK, and this is what we're doing now, is that we're building our own institute, and we're developing it to have the best strength and conditioning, the best nutrition, the best know-how in terms of attracting the right talent and the right trainers to develop our athletes. So as an athlete myself, who is going to retire soon, I'm very proud of everything that we've been able to achieve. I also work in a sports project called Sports Boulevard, and it's a massive project where we are building the longest linear park in the world, almost 135 kilometers, and it's going to be a game changer in terms of how people adapt to different sports. We're going to build the longest sports tower in the world, almost 130 meters. We're going to have more than 50 plus sports. So in terms of what's happening in sports in Saudi, it's absolutely massive, and we're very excited about the future.
You also lived in France, which is important to note as well.
Oui, je suis très heureuse d'être ici. C'était et merci pour cette opportunité. Je suis très heureuse.
Another interesting point, you were at the Paris Olympics with the first Saudi Olympic female participant who actually qualified through her own means. This was important.
So this was actually a very historical moment. So I don't know how much you guys are familiar about female athletes. We always went to the Olympics through a wild card, meaning it's like a charity from the IOC. And during the last Olympics, we had the first female athlete that was qualified. So we're extremely proud of her. Her name was Dunya Abu Talib, and I attended her match. I was screaming from the top of my lungs, and so hopefully that's just she's the first, but she definitely won't be the last. So yeah.
Absolutely. Now we've been talking about football, we've been talking about athletics and other stuff, but I mean now we're talking about car racing, Winfield Racing School, and Frederick, you're here to talk about that. And the impact of motorsports on national and regional economies. Tell me about Winfield Racing School, which is very famous, I know, but you're also moving into the Middle East.
Yes, correct. So good evening. Thanks for Business France for the invitation. So Winfield Racing School is a very famous racing school. It exists since '64, so more than 60 years now. It has trained many drivers, and some like Alain Prost and Damon Hill. So there is a Winfield method. And after 15 years in Formula One, I decided to give back to the sport and to take over the Winfield brand and to relaunch all the activities. And so we have one program which is to share our passion for the sport and allow normal people to drive a real Formula One car, which is on one side, and the other side is the Young Driver program. And we are really proud now because Isaac Adjar, for the one who are following Formula One, has joined F1 at the beginning of the year, and he started with us when he was 14 years old. So it's a good point for us, and it's a good proof of our method. And we decided 2 years ago to open another racing school in Middle East, because our vision is the fact that you have 13 drivers from Europe on the grid, on the Formula One grid, which is not reflecting the power of the sport, you know, the worldwide power. And I think that we really need to bring more and more drivers from all over the world, and not only from Europe. And the good way to do it is to be able to develop a racing school in the region, in the Middle East region, to be able to touch the region, but also to open the market to Asia Pacific. It's very important for the sport, as I said, because compared to the Olympics and the Football Cup, F1 is a yearly event, and it's a worldwide event, but with local race, which is interesting. And in the Middle East, you have 4 races now. So it's very, I think it's very powerful. So we have the goal to be able to train the next, Middle East driver to join F1, because for the moment there is no one.
So it's in Bahrain, your academy, right?
Yes, it's in Bahrain, correct. Okay.
Now, let's talk about mega events as catalysts. Looking back 1 year, of course, there was the Paris Olympiad. It was the chance for the French capital to really change global perceptions about the nation, the people, the culture. If we saw the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics, the people around the world, their whole mindset about French culture and people changed when they saw that. It blew away the cobwebs, right? Now, before that, in the Middle East, of course, we had Expo Dubai, which also did a similar thing for Dubai. Coming up, this Riyadh Expo 2030. Going around the table, and let's be very brief because we don't have a lot of time, what major events do you think are going to have the greatest impact on local economies coming up? Is there anything that you can think of that, apart from the Coupe du Monde, the World Cup, so anything that's, that might be interesting? Anybody with ideas?
As I said, Formula One has a real impact. Sorry to be pushy on it, but that's true. To develop the tourism, and we took some example like Baku in Azerbaijan. Who wants to go to Baku? So F1 is really helping to push the tourism in some country, and it's really great because, as I said, it's a local event.
A local event, but with obviously when people watch a Grand Prix from anywhere around the world, instantly they're interested in that place. If you see the Jeddah Grand Prix or the other Grand Prix around there, makes you want to go there. I mean, you see the place, go, wow. Okay, another thing, winning and hosting, strategies for securing bids and maximizing the impact of major international events. Marion, perhaps you could talk a little bit about that. How do you see this strategies for securing bids being important in the Middle East?
Well, actually, I agree with you that, with the fact that these big events attract, they are the best marketing campaigns you can get. On top of that, obviously, you also reinforce the infrastructure, and these days you cannot have an event without the legacy, okay? In legacy terms, I would include a very important key factor such as social inclusion, because it's actually a great opportunity to actually drive the whole country to something, because if you think of the World Cup, you know, most of the people living in those countries don't really have access to watch the real matches, okay? So in the end, you have to cater for their needs, and it's a great opportunity to share values, create this belonging, sense of belonging in the country, and making a whole great experience for the people attending. I would like to say many more things, but I know we are running short of time.
Jean-Guillaume, I know you're itching to say something.
Just jumping on what Marion said. If you take the example of the major event and the sporting event, I would say there are two phases. The first phase is the bidding phases, where first you need to have a strong political will to get the event. You need a very also strong public and private people that working together to deliver and successfully deliver an event, and that's part of the bid. And every authority that will look at the bid will be considering that. And on top of that, you need to have a very good structure in the planning of all the infrastructure. That's critical. Meaning that's mainly for the bid phase, including, and you're right, a lot of touches that very important, that like sustainability, inclusion, and all the promotion of the destination. After, when you have been awarded, what is very important is the good mix between the short term, which is deliver the games or whatever is the event, and also the long term, which is what's gonna be the legacy in terms of tourism, in terms of the what it will bring to the population, the way the population, the local population, will get a real heritage of this event, and certainly after that, it's also helping a population on some very political, I would say, strategy for some government. But the impact of a big event brings, if you talk about the federation, most of the time they have much more people that are joining federation after a strong event. So it goes with health policy and sport policy. It could be with women empowerment and policy for some countries. So that's very important, that the thinking about the post-award strategy.
Exactly. So it's all about, like when you're investing in infrastructure, massive investments for the World Cup, and again, academies or event venues as long-term economic drivers. How do host cities and governments get this right, and how can they get it wrong? I know, Abid, we were talking also about this. Perhaps a few words about how that's been going on in Qatar.
Well, look, Qatar did an amazing job in transforming that destination. It is exemplary. Not only that, at the end of the World Cup put Qatar on the map. Lots of the paradigms that existed about Qatar were done away with as a result. The residual impact of hosting a World Cup, now they have iconic architecture with sporting events that they could then market and attract other sporting events to come in. I don't know how many people amongst us would have ever experienced standing in the middle of a massive stadium on the pitch and looking around. Qatar has opened those stadiums up for tourists to go and experience that, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Now, in leading up to a big event, whether it's World Cup or Olympics or whatever the case might be, you got to plan beyond the event itself. Yes, it'll put the destination on the map, but you have to be able to capitalize on that. You have to be able to monetize it post that event. And that comes with government regulations that need to be changed, ease of being able to get in and out of the destination. It'll be interesting to see the next World Cup, which is being hosted by Canada, US, and Mexico, how they deal with some of these immigration issues and how easy it is for people to go back and forth. But looking beyond the event itself is critical to make the event sustainable.
Now, Frederic Garcia, you've created this sports motor academy in the Emirates. How does that help boost tourism in the region? Now, you know, I mean, and why is training so important?
The training is very important, as Fanuel said. It's important to be able to bring the knowledge and the experience to develop, you know, in different regions of the world, the know-how that we have in Europe. And it's also very interesting on the tourism side, because when we train a young driver coming from the region, but also, as I said, from Asia Pacific, the family are traveling with the kids, and they are usually spending more than 1 week, because we do 3 days training, for example. So they will spend more than 1 week in the region. It's the same thing in Paul Ricard here in south of France. We had a Formula 4 training camp the last weekend, and we have 3 American young boy, and they came with their family, and they stay you know, locally to discover France. So it's a powerful tool for tourism, I believe so.
Fanuel, would you say that the same is true for your football academy?
Yes, of course. It's look at just some numbers. You know, we start the program here in the GCC in 2019, starting by Qatar and Kuwait, and then in the UAE in 2022, and of course in 2024 in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. And so far, we are more than 8,000 players. So once again, boys, girls, from the age of 4 or 5 years old up to 16, 17 years old, traveling, participating to, of course, football tournaments, but also multi-sport, because this is what we develop also, not only focus on football. We believe that with Le Club France, it's very important to talk about also the other sports, because we understand that all the children, they don't have all the same vocation. Maybe some of them they are built to drive cars, some other to play football, some other to play basketball or swimming, or even Olympics. Any Olympics, how do you call how do you say it? Olympic. I mean. Sports, yeah. I mean, okay.
Discipline.
Discipline, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Richard. So yeah. But for the tourism, it's important because travel is part of it. International competition. We, as I told you before, we bring all the GCC families in Paris. Now we have in 2 weeks a big tournament in Spain, again with players from a team from Saudi, from UAE traveling to Spain, and then this summer in Morocco, because we're also operating in Morocco. So, of course, it's a great opportunity here.
Now, entertainment comes with sports tourism. We were just talking about that a little bit earlier as well. Building global destinations through festivals, attractions, and cultural offerings. So we're not just talking about sport in that case. How important is this combination of attractions? Perhaps Cleo, you'd be able to tell us about this, and also, you know, how things are moving in Abu Dhabi in that respect.
Sure. I think that basically, especially this part of the world, we need to consider that, you know, there is the regional tourism, but there are also people traveling from further away. So we've got a lot of Chinese visitors, a lot of Indian visitors, even Russian visitors. And recently also we discovered the domestic tourism, which was completely, undervalued. But I think what is important is really to see these from a guest perspective. So I'm going to travel with my family for 3-4 days. So there's going to be a live event, maybe a sports event, but the before and the after. So this is the entertainment side. And how can we really create a memorable experience, by adding different layers of attractions? So from our side, from the theme parks perspective, or be it from the museum side, or even the retail element, we want to create joy. We want to bring people, in addition to visiting the Formula One or going to other events, we really see it as a continuity. It also helps, of course, from an economic perspective, increasing the length of stay. So we need to consider that, but also, driving more tourism and adding also these new destinations. A few years back, we were not talking about the Middle East, or few people knew the locations of each one of the cities. And each one of those events, each one of these experiences are actually adding also brand awareness to, be it Abu Dhabi, be it Dubai, Riyadh, or any of the regional cities.
Tell me about esports. I know you're a little bit involved in that, and this is happening in Saudi Arabia, the onset of esports in a massive way. Esports are going to become extremely important.
Maybe just to do the transition, so within Ferrari World, we have an esport arena with 20 simulators, and we invited also La Scuderia, so Ferrari HP have its esports series within Ferrari. So, and it was actually at the closing of the Grand Prix on Yas Marina circuit. So we really see this connection between the sports, the entertainment, and it's going to be really interesting to see the next step. I know that at Abu Dhabi level, there is also an esports strategy which has been defined. And again, the region is very young. There are statistics. The Nuizu report is very interesting to see really the adoption of esport within the region, because again, I think before it was mentioned, people are young and people are connected. So definitely being behind their screens and telephones also works. So I'm very curious to see what's the next step of esport in the region.
Fred, we were talking about that as well with the Alpine esports, people paying 40,000 euros to buy a virtual car. I mean, this is crazy.
This is crazy, and it's what I heard, but I'm not sure it's 100% confirmed. But on the esport and sim racing, my vision is that, let's say in 10, 15 years, the sim racing will replace karting as a grassroots to single-seater and to motorsport. I'm 100% sure. It's so important, and as you said, Chloe, it's speaking to all the new generation, so it's very, very important. Okay,
finally, not finally, but Franco-GCC collaboration. Now we're here, this is what this meeting is all about: strengthening ties through shared expertise in event management, tourism, and sports diplomacy. What can we here in France or Europe bring to the fore in the Middle East in this respect, and vice versa? What can we in Europe learn from what's being done in the Middle East? Can we have some concrete ideas? Anybody have something concrete? Should we form a committee? How can we create something that's solid and that helps in this respect? Who's got an idea?
You want me to share my experience? Yeah, I'm gonna do, because living now in the Middle East for several years, and I can share you two kind of experience. On one side, it's true that France has hosted a lot of major events and sports events, but not only. When you consider also the COP, the climate conference, the Olympics, the World Cup of football, World Cup of rugby. So for sure, having a task force that will bring experience of not only bidding, like I mentioned earlier, but also now hosting an event and considering what can be the positive things for a destination to host an event is something that definitely can be worked together. Also, and it's going to be interesting in the next years to see how come European countries can bring experience of having financement not only by government, but also by private sector. Most of the events that we are having now in the Middle East are driven by the finance of the government. It will take the time, but it will go now where we will have more and more events where the private sector will become the sponsor, the TV rights will be more and more important, everything that makes that it will change also the business model. So that's something. And on the other side, I'm deeply impressed by the energy of the young generation in the Middle East country. And if I take the example of Saudi, of the way this young generation is experiences entertainment, sport or whatever is entertainment, the way they experience it through social network, the way they want to develop some AI for events, for sport, is also a good learning for European countries. So there's certainly some cross knowledge to share and to make this certainly the world of tomorrow. It will go, as we say, on e-sport or on whatever, but it's changing this world, and learning might be considered on the both sides, definitely.
And how can we make some concrete plan to bring this all together? What do you suggest?
I mean, I'm going to give you an example, but I'm sure that they will have plenty. As G11s, we have the chance to be involved in many events worldwide. Next year, I can tell you, we will be involved on the Asian Games in Japan, on the Olympic Games in Italy. You can be sure that we will have people in our team who will help to deliver this major event coming from the Middle East. The idea is bringing some of our staff that will be the manager of our business unit in the Middle East in the future. So instead of waiting that I'm not sure that my microphone is, instead of waiting that the event comes to the country, we are bringing the people to experience and learn and come back to their country and become the manager of tomorrow and the one who will deliver the event in their country. This is something that we do locally as a company, but definitely it can be done on a global perspective, certainly.
Okay. Lama, I've got a couple of questions actually, because and you just before we came up here, you were talking about the new sort of academy that's being set up for training athletes in Saudi Arabia. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And also, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about how the role of women in sport in the Middle East is progressing, because I know that we spoke a bit about that, but perhaps a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so sure. So there's, as per the national sports strategy, there's a pillar to develop elite athletes. So we have an elite athlete program, meaning that we choose the best athletes. So we have, as I said, 100 federations. As per the strategy, we've identified priority sports that we can win medals from, and we have chosen the best athletes from these federations, and we are building an elite athlete institute, and we have an elite athlete program where they have a different track, and we will train them from now to and it will need a minimum of 10 to 12 years for us to actually see results. In the same time, we have different institutes called Mahd Academy, where we train kids from the age 6 to 14. We have LDI, where we train the trainers, and we give different, and it's all about sports education. And the Olympic Committee has a program called the Federation Transformation Program, meaning that the federations get certain fundings after they achieve their KPIs, and we have ranked them, let's say ABC. It's based on their ranking and how well they do, and if they're able to achieve these KPIs, that they get the proper funding. So that motivates federations, and in retrospect, it helps the athletes. So I really just want to shed light also in terms of, so this is what we're doing for elite athletes. But when we talk about mass participation, or when we talk about the projects that Saudi is doing, we're doing a lot. So we have different projects in Saudi, like Sports Boulevard, like King Salman Park, like Neom and Qiddiya, that are all focused on sports and entertainment, and Saudi is hosting a lot of the international games. As you said, we have the Formula 1 and Formula E and the tennis and the boxing and the World Cup soon. So there's a lot going on in terms of sports and entertainment, not just for elite athletes. So yeah.
Okay. Just one other thing I wanted to mention is the new GCC Unified Tourist Visa. There may be people here aware of that or not. It's a new visa which is supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to be end of last year, start of this year. It's been pushed back a bit. It will be like the Schengen visa, which will mean that people can travel anywhere in the GCC with one visa. Not too sure. I've been following this personally, how it's coming along, but this is something which no doubt will massively enhance tourism. If there is an event, for example, in Bahrain, that people will then just be able to pop over to Saudi for a visit, or vice versa. We've only got a minute left, but I think it might be just worth mentioning that. Any last things to say, or not? Any last comments, ideas? You can.
I really want to encourage everyone here to come to Saudi. And the visa is extremely easy. You can issue a visa within 24 hours. So do not hesitate. Everything is automated. And I encourage you all to come.
I think it's even quicker than that. It takes like 20 minutes or something like that. So it is very easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as soon we will have the GCC visa, you know, from Saudi, you can hop on to the UAE and to Abu Dhabi. Maybe my last comment is really, you know, creating synergies across experiences, attractions, the airlines, the hospitality and the community as well. This is, you know, it's one event, but we need to, if the infrastructure is not there, if the hotels are not there, if we don't create packages between the sport and, you know, the other attractions, I think people will not find, you know, what they're looking for. So for me, it's synergies, synergies, synergies.
And it all comes down to governments, right?
With a lot of support, but eventually, you know, I think the private sector, as you mentioned, needs to start becoming more predominant, and it will come. It will come.
Ahmed.
Well, look, the economic and social benefits of travel and tourism are amazing. At the worst time in global financial crisis, tourism was the only sector that still grew double digits. This is the sector that employs hundreds of thousands of people. Our esteemed panelists just before us that were talking about healthcare. Healthcare requires high education, lots and lots of training, whereas travel and tourism can attract people from all walks of life. So it is pivotal that the governments put resources against growing this sector in each of the economies. I think it works very well.
Ahmed, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be very, very short. I'd like to say that from the Western world, very often we have a very ethnocentric views on countries in the Middle East, and as if we were here to give lessons. So I also encourage people to visit Saudi because it's absolutely welcoming, and we have so much to learn. At the end of the day, as we were saying, it's all about collaboration, it's all about sharing knowledge and doing things together, and what a better example than going there and working hand in hand with them.
Tourists visiting Saudi Arabia become the greatest ambassadors for Saudi Arabia, by the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to come back on the visa, I think it takes only 15 minutes for any European Schengen passport to get the visa for Saudi Arabia. And to set up a company, because we set up companies there, it's also easy. So I'm also have also the residency there. It was quite amazing compared to back in the days like 2009, 2010. I was traveling to Saudi. So yeah, for anyone here who are looking to do the business. I mean, GCC is I mean, the Middle East is quite interesting. Of course, Saudi Arabia now with all the changes that we know, but UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, I think we all agree that they are, of course, interesting markets. And anyone, I'm not sure today, different people, what they are looking for partnership or to bring a company there. It's for sure it's a hub, which is very interesting. Yeah.
And Fred, finally, maybe we can come and drive a Formula One car in Bahrain at your establishment.
Yeah, correct. You could do it in Bahrain, but we could do it as well in another place. What I want to say is, as a small company wanted to develop its activity in Middle East, I must underline the fact that we have been very, very happy with all the support and the friendly atmosphere that we get in Middle East to develop our structure. And this is something which is really, really great. So thanks for this.
Thank you, Fred, and thanks to all our panelists today. Thank you very much.